Thank you very much, Cinda. I'm really grateful to you for doing that. And I want to just kind of finish up the night. And there's just a couple points that I could spend 3 hours on each, and I'm not, obviously, but I want to do this relatively fast here. You have to remember, too, that marketing goes hand in hand with what you're producing. I have to say the biggest mistake that I've made at times is when I've made the mistake of looking at how much money we're making and thinking it's not enough. And so my first response to that has been to produce more. And the bottom, the truth is you have to sleep, it turns out. And your ground, there's only so much of it. And so you can only produce, you're limited. You can't produce till, ad nauseum. So we have found for us that this is going to be an experimental year for us in many ways, but we're tucking things in a little bit. Like I said, we're decreasing the size of our CSA. We're lowering the number of markets we're participating in hopes of doubling the one that we are in. And we're looking, very seriously at the way we produce and whether or not we're really getting the amount of money we deserve to get for what we produce. And if we aren't, we're taking enterprises away. It's been really hard to look at this, but our ducks have put us on the map, but we're at a point with them because of the feed costs involved and our inability because of the size of our farm to create enough food for them here on farm to offset those costs of having to buy feed, that we may phase them out, or not entirely phase them out, but get down to where we are only putting their product into the eggs into value-added products. So we have to really look at those kinds of issues as we move forward. Another issue that honestly we could spend a day on is just advertising. Do you go with what we call earned advertising, or free advertising, or do you buy advertising? I argue you do both. You should do both. If you want to get free advertising, this is the old stuff where your local TV station or your newspaper or radio station wants to talk to you and ask you about something you're doing or your opinion of local food and what the movement's all about. Let me tell you this, the easiest way to get that is to be available, to be interested in helping the media. If they call us, we call them back right away. If they say, can we come over and do a shoot from your farm, we say yes. When do you want to come? We'll stop everything and let them do that, because for a television station to come and put me on the air and I don't have to do anything except maybe put on clean jeans and be warm and welcoming and put the tea kettle on, you're darn right we're going to do it, because it hasn't cost us a cent to do that. So we're very open to the media. We try to help them do their job, and they've been consequently very, very good to us. Now, paid advertising, of course, is when you just set aside budget and say we're going to develop advertising, and we're going to place them in what we call the old media, papers, magazine, radio, TV. But the new media now, too, is becoming a much more effective tool for people to reach out. If you're on Facebook, you know that you can place ads there very inexpensively, and I would encourage you to do that. But the thing to think about is don't waste your money on advertisement that isn't going to reach your audience. You really need to know the kinds of media that your audience uses, the people that are going to eat your food. Where do they shop? Where do they get the information about what they want to buy? And that's where your advertising should be. The new media, social media, I would say this. You have to have a website. If you don't, get one. You should be collecting emails every chance you possibly get. When you meet someone, ask for their email. If you can piggyback off other email lists, try to do that. You should have a Twitter account and a Facebook account. These are minimal things right now, minimal sorts of ways to reach out. There are a host of other social media available, but at the very minimum, you want to have Twitter and Facebook accounts and a website. The most important thing to remember with media is that you are going to have to put time into it, and you're going to be telling a story, your story. But as I always like to say, telling your own story is one of the greatest pleasures that you can have if you enjoy your story. So go for it. Do it. Tell people what you're doing. On our Facebook page, every couple days we tell people what we're planting. We take pictures of what we're doing. You know, you want to keep it fresh. You want to frequently be in contact with eaters, but not to the point that you're annoying them. I can do that in the summer. I can send out too many emails. I have to be really careful not to tell them every single thing that's going on, but to, you know, try to get things out in a weekly email to remind people what's coming off the farm and what they might want to buy. Try to control your media, but I also want to say this about Facebook and Twitter accounts really quickly. Keep those separate from your personal Facebook and Twitter accounts. Have two. Have one for yourself, have one for your business. On your business side, you can, you know, remember you're out to sell, not to offend. On your personal website, or I mean your personal Facebook, your personal Twitter accounts, maybe you can talk politics, maybe you can talk religion, maybe you can, you know, speak off the cuff a little bit more, but make sure that you're careful about who's looking at those things, because I think we all deserve to have a personal life, but in this day of social media, I think we need to remember that there's not as much privacy as there used to be. So if your goal is to sell to people, that's one persona, but if your goal is to, you know, interact with your friends on Facebook, for instance, that's fine, but you need to remember that if you aren't controlling that a little bit, customers may see more of more inside your life than you necessarily want them to. So just try to remember that. Good marketing is about telling a story. Great marketing is about getting your customers to tell that story for you. Genius marketing links people back to food and makes them begin to feel whole again or for the first time. I want to remind you that in marketing, some very simple rules prevail. You're always first going to try to go for the people that already like you, that are already eating your food. Then your next best prospects, and the rest of the world last. So remember, whoever's already eating your food is who's most important to you. And for those of you who might be a little bit queasy about marketing, I think these words of Wendell Berry are really important, because I think they remind us that the work that we're all doing is important work. We're trying to put a face back to food. We're trying to connect people back to the people that grow their food, and we're providing a service and a way of life, and in many ways what we're offering is a matter of health. So don't be shy about it. I hope you can enjoy it, and hope that this has been somewhat useful to you tonight, and that, you know, our discussions as we move forward can be useful to you too. Are there any other questions at this point, Cinda?
Yes, there is one that came in earlier that we didn't have a chance to answer. It's not really an easy one to answer, so you might want to follow up with it on the discussion forum. But okay. Patricia says that she's been offered some land for a bigger garden space. What is the best way to decide on what to plant above and beyond the multi-crops that she already sells?
I think actually it's a really easy thing to answer, and that is, what can she market? And I, you know, what can you sell? I mean, you know, really, what can you sell? Do you have ideally, you wouldn't have to just, you know, grow 40 more crops. Ideally, you might find, you know, there's 4 restaurants in town who would really like to have carrots in January. So maybe you can grow a bunch of carrots there and find a way to store those and you know, be the carrot provider to the restaurants in January. So I think that your marketing plan is going to determine that.
Yep.
And it's that simple and that difficult.
And the SWOT analysis, again, will help.
All of these analyses, you know, we've provided so many analyses, but yeah, I think it's where you are and what, you know, I said it earlier on, it's not so much about what you want to do, but what is your market demanding? What's not being done? That's where you create the niche.
And you've got to get out and find that out. You know, what in your particular area, what is it that you can do that you can market?
Yeah.
So, well, that's all for me.
Okay.
I'm getting off, and that's all the questions for tonight. So we'll see y'all.
All right. Thank you, Cinda, and I really appreciate it.